You're listening to Real Talk Texas on 570 KLIF News and Information. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert Steve Hakes.
Welcome to Real Talk Texas. I'm your host, Steve Hakes. Heard every Sunday here at noon on KLIF News and Information, AM 570. Real Talk Texas is a forum where our listeners can get real advice from real experts in the marketplace here in North Texas. And as always, you can reach out to me directly if you have any personal questions at realtalktexas.com. Just go there, send me a quick note, and I'll try to answer it as quickly as possible for you. And yes, I'm a federally licensed mortgage originator. My license number is 242522. So when I'm talking about mortgages, you know that I'm licensed. So in October, we really got deep into what's happening into the real estate market here in North Texas. We had Jenny Manning on, and she was talking to us about the multiple offers that are happening on properties, and which really is a great thing to hear out there. And if you're listening and you're thinking about buying a house, I don't think there's a better time in history in North Texas to buy a home. And Jenny was there basically talking about how many of the listings go on the market. There's not enough houses on the market. It's really flipped from a buyer's market to a seller's market. And that's good news for everybody that owns a home because their values are stabilizing. They're not back to 2005, 2006 levels, but they're stabilizing and getting better. We also had Alicia Trevino on last month, and she was talking to us about the distressed inventory that's out there and how you can get great buys that are out there and how that's shrinking a little bit. We had Nick and Julia Bristow on, and they talked about how to buy those distressed houses and flip them. So hopefully we're giving you content that really helps you as a listener to tune in to Real Talk Texas. This month, we're really focused on you personally or your business and how to protect your assets. So today, we're going to be focused on debt elimination or restructuring. So to find out how to evaluate your current financial situation or your options for yourself, your family, or possibly your business, to really get the skinny on legal protections that you can use to successfully restructure your financial future or to ensure that you'll have a better future than you may be facing today, to really start looking at the top three things that you can do as a listener out there that you should know. Our producer, Paul Webb, has done another great job this week, and he's found attorney Gerrit to join us here today. And I really want to spend a couple of minutes talking about Gerrit because I'm very, very impressed by his credentials. He's a co-founding partner with Pronsky and Patel, and they're located on Ross Avenue in Dallas, I believe in Uptown. And we're really pleased to have him on the show today, Gerrit. I'm glad to have you here. Mr. Pronsky's the recipient of the Texas Monthly Superlawyer designation, U.S. News and World Report's Best Lawyers in America, and D Magazine's Best Lawyers in Dallas. And he's past chairman of the Dallas Bankruptcy Bar Association and past chairman of the bankruptcy section of the Federal Bar Association. Mr. Pronsky's got 29 years experience in the areas of bankruptcy, reorganization, and troubled loan restructuring, and insolvency-related litigation. Mr. Pronsky represents financially distressed companies, individuals, trustees, lenders, asset purchasers, landlords, creditors, and creditors' committees. His practice includes both litigation in both bankruptcy courts as well as the federal and state courts before judges, juries, and arbitrators. So, once again, when you talk about getting real quality advice, how about contacting an attorney who actually wrote a book on bankruptcy in Texas? And we're really glad to have him in our studio today. Mr. Pronsky is the author of Pronsky's Texas Bankruptcy. This is a 1,000-page bankruptcy practice manual for Texas attorneys and other professionals, and it's in its 12th edition. Mr. Pronsky is also author of Pronsky's Texas Bankruptcy Mini Code, and we'll talk about what that is in a little bit later. And he's also former editor of Texas Bankruptcy Decisions and the Texas Bankruptcy Court Reporter. He's a frequent lecturer on legal seminars on bankruptcy-related topics and usually focusing on recent developments of the law. So I can really say once again here on Real Talk Texas, we've got a real expert. I'm really excited to have Mr. Pronsky in our studio today. And so, Gerrit, welcome to Real Talk Texas.
Thanks, Steve. Glad to be here.
Okay, Gerrit, I'm sure you deal with a lot of clients with a wide variety of needs out there. Since bankruptcy reform in October of 2005, what are the types of restructuring or debt elimination options that are available today out there for our listeners?
Well, in general, I think there would be four that we would be talking about for a program like this, and three of them would be bankruptcy options under the Bankruptcy Code, under Chapter 11 of the Bankruptcy Code, Chapter 13, and Chapter 7, and then the last category would basically be restructurings of debt out of court. To basically talk about those chapters and kind of what they mean. Chapter 7 bankruptcy is what we think of as a straight liquidation type of a bankruptcy, and it's available both to individuals, and we'll talk, I think, in a minute as to how the law changed to make it a little bit less available for individuals. But as a general rule, Chapter 7 liquidation is available to businesses and to individuals. And then we have Chapter 11, which is also available to businesses and to individuals. It's usually used as a business tool, and it's for basically restructuring your debt over a period of time through a bankruptcy plan. And then Chapter 13 of the Bankruptcy Code is basically sort of like a mini Chapter 11. It's a reorganization where there's a plan, but it's for individuals, and it's primarily used in the consumer field. So those are basically the bankruptcy options.
Today, what we'll do is we'll chunk this down because there's a lot to talk about here, I'm sure. And so what we'll do is we'll first start off with talking about businesses. So if you're a small business owner out there and you've been faced with some really tough times with the economy, the way they've gone, we're going to get into what are your options as a business owner in the next segment of our show. Then we're also going to take the following segment. We're going to talk about the personal level, an individual who's been facing some hard times. They don't really see a quick way to get out of this. What can they do to protect themselves and move forward? And we talked a little bit off air about planning and how to get prepared for all of this. So if you're listening out there, you're listening to Real Talk Texas, and we're on KLIF 570. In news and information, you got to stay tuned because we're really going to dig in. If you're in a situation or you know somebody that needs advice out there that may be in a difficult financial position today, you're really going to want to come back and listen to our next segment as we get into business restructuring as well as personal restructuring, and we're going to talk about what's happening here in the Texas laws, which are very different from the national laws. So stay tuned.